Veganism is for poor people. Alright, to break it down, you first establish what is a vegan. A vegan is a person who eats vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. A vegetarian is a person who eats fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, dairy, and seafood. Now, about 20 years ago, dairy and seafood used to be like pretty cheap. Nuts and everything, nuts and all that stuff. They used to be really cheap. So it wasn't that hard to be a vegetarian. But most of the time, vegetarians, they usually have big families. So being a vegetarian or being healthy was pretty easy. I mean, all this stuff was cheap. But around about 2005, that stuff wasn't cheap no more. That stuff like meat, eggs, milk, cheese, all them things, nuts, they started to become really expensive because we was going into organic age. I mean, about 20 years ago, you would have said organic, you're like, what are you talking about? And you know what it was. But companies like, hey, we can slap organic on something and charge $2 more for it. We can slap no GMOs on it, $2 more. Gluten free, $2 more. So it was even more expensive to become gluten free and a vegetarian. I mean, gluten free and paleo was expensive. Even a vegetarian was expensive. So if I had a big family, I had a lot of money, and veganism was connected to the spiritual to the you might as well say it's connected to the spiritual conscious community. Most of the people in these communities are usually vegans, and they're usually anti-establishment, anti-corporation, anti-government. So these people, they probably don't even have jobs. So if you don't have a job, or say you have an anti-corporate job, that means you don't make a lot of money. You got a big family, or you don't have, let's say, a corporate type job. Because most spiritual people are against corporations, and a lot of people join veganism because it's supposedly more spiritual. That's why they join it. So they want to feel good. It's all about feeling good, feeling like you're sticking to the man. You stick it to the man when you say I'm anti-corporation. You don't want to get a government job or something. So if I don't have a lot of money, and I'm looking at all the things that cost a lot, dairy, seafood, meat, then I'm not going to eat that no more. So you would think about how is it that this so-called ism consists of all the things that cost too much? Well, this ism only eschews the foods that cost too much: dairy, seafood, and meat. These three things cost the most. So corporations was like, we got these vegetarians, right? They don't eat meat. Meat is a protein. They're not getting protein. So the people who don't eat meat, now they have to eat nuts. Like I say, 20 years ago, nuts was cheap. Nuts ain't cheap no more. You can get like a pound of cashews. It was like $8, $8 a pound for like some cashews or some almonds or something. Stuff used to be cheap back in the day, but now it's not. So the corporations was like, wow, a lot of people ain't eating meat, but they're eating a lot of nuts. So we got to make the nuts the same price as the meat. So, but people are like, well, but so you got to understand. So people got to feel good about their decision that they made, because they're going against nature. How you gonna say you don't eat animals, but animals eat other animals? Animals have no problem eating other animals. We're the only ones that are trying to convince ourselves that eating meat is a bad thing. All the while, if you don't want to kill a living thing, why are you killing vegetables? When you pull the vegetable out of the ground, It's not living no more. So if you're against killing a living thing, why don't eat any living thing? Because wait, are you saying that the vegetable is not a living thing? You saying nuts are not a living thing? They live too. They have to survive. So if you want to say you don't want to kill a living thing, then you got to apply that to all things. I don't want to eat no living thing. So that's a little belief going on right there. That's all about beliefs, all about feeling good. Now, let's take this logic and let's take it to Africa. They say they go to Africa. Most of these spiritual people end up going to Africa one day, and they look at the tribes and they're like, hey, look, they're vegans over here. They're vegetarians. Oh yeah, now I feel good. Now I feel good. I made a good decision. I became a vegetarian. But really, it was economics. You only did it because the things that you usually would eat, they cost too much. So you become a vegan vegetarian because you're gonna save money. You're gonna save a lot of money. Now though, all that stuff costs a lot. So it's not even, you can't even say, well, I'm gonna save a lot of money because I'm a vegan. Nah, if you replace meat with nuts, nuts cost the same as price as meat. So you're pretty much, spending the same amount of money, unless you got a garden or something. So yeah, if you got a garden, and yeah, you good to go. So you go to Africa and you know that there's vegans, right? But they're not vegans by choice. See, we choose to be vegan, vegetarian, because we want to feel good about ourselves, and we're basically trying to save money. That, save on money, trying to say I want to save money, that doesn't sound too much. That doesn't sound too good. So if you say something like, I don't want to kill little baby calves or something, that sounds better. That makes you feel good. That makes you feel like a better person than, well, I'm just trying to save money. So that's why we substitute, I'm just trying to save money with, I don't want to kill baby animals. All the while you're killing vegetables. I ripped them out of the ground and chopping them up in the blender. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so you go to Africa and you got veganism, you got vegetarian, but they're not vegan by choice. If I live in a tribe, first of all, vegetables don't even, that many vegetables like kale, spinach, broccoli, collard, these vegetables don't even grow in Africa. What they have over there is fruits, sweet potato. They don't even have rice. Rice has to be imported from other countries and give it to them. They don't even grow rice in Africa. They have, I think they have like cocoa, stuff like that. They have like herbs. They have certain herbs. They got, I think the only vegetables they got is like, I think is either sweet potato. It's sweet potato, and I think that they have a type of like potato or something. But if you look at African foods, there's not a lot of vegetables in there. If there is vegetables in there, they got them because it's been imported into the country, or they're in America. They're probably cooking in America or Europe or something. But yeah, most Africans are not vegetarians. They don't eat a lot of vegetables. They only have access to them. So anyway, so that's out the window. That's lying. It's out the window that they eat a lot of vegetables. No, they don't. They only have access to them. Definitely, if you're living in a tribe, you have access to some, like a goat, would probably be like one or two, which you can't. Like I'm saying, once you kill that goat, that's it. You have to eat it. You have to share it with the village. Matter of fact, they don't even kill the goat until they have like a celebration. So they're not eating meat every day anyway. And they have to use the goat to get goat milk. So they can't just kill it. As soon as you kill it, you have no more goat milk. So it's not really about eating meat or not eating meat. It's about how many times do you eat meat. It's not about eating vegetables or eating fruits, nuts. It's not even about that. It's about how much are you consuming? How much do you eat? Do you eat these things every season? Because a lot of these things, like when it gets cold, if you have cows or goats, you can't just kill these cows and goats during the winter. During the winter, you need the goats, you need the cows because you need their milk. So you don't want to kill them because the grass dies during the winter. So goats and cows ain't got much to eat. So you gotta be feeding them your vegetables. I think I think it's kale, cabbage. I think those vegetables can be, I think, grown in the wintertime when it gets cold. I think that's the only vegetable that can survive during the cold. So you got to give up some of your vegetables to feed your animals so you can keep them alive. So it's more important. It's more, you got to stay alive and they got to stay alive. You got to make sure that you're staying alive and you're surviving and they're surviving. Of course, you're more important than the animal. But if you don't have the animal, you ain't gonna survive either. So you got to be equally important. Y'all got to stay alive. He got to stay alive. So in poor countries, a lot of these countries are fascist, military-based countries. So if I have a land, I have a goat, and I have some vegetables, a military can come along and say, hey, I see y'all got a goat over here. We want it. Because it's a fascist country, they can take it. And they'll go, and they take people's land all the time in these fascist communist countries. People don't realize how crazy, stupid communism, socialism is in these oppressive countries. If they want your land and you're you know, people don't realize how hard it is to have a farm in Africa. How many times governments have come along, the militia groups have come along, see you got vegetables, see you have animals, and come and take your land, take your vegetables, burn your crops, you know, take your animals. Hey, these are ours now. So you become vegan only by nature. You don't become vegan vegetarian by choice. So like in America, we have a lot of choices. We can become vegan if we want. We have that necessity. We have that privilege that we can choose to be a vegetarian. You go to Africa with that, they be like, vegetarian, what are you talking about? I don't even know what that is. They have it depends on if you live near the water, you're eating fish. You ain't turning down no fish. You ask a person like, hey, you ever thought about not eating fish? It'll look like you crazy or something, not eating fish. This is how we survive. What are you talking about? try to go to an African village and tell them not to eat meat. They say, you know, well, in America, we're vegetarians, we're vegans, we don't eat no meat. How about y'all try that? They'll probably starve to death. They probably look at you like you crazy, kick you out of there. What you talking about not gonna eat no meat? Like, they take everything. They're grateful for everything that they have. That one goat that they got, they used to worship goats. They used to worship cows. They worship cows in India. That's how important these things are. You look at countries in India. They don't eat cow because you gotta think about it. In their I think it's I don't know if it's Buddhism and Hinduism. I think it's Hinduism. In Hinduism, you're not allowed to eat cow or something because it's one of the worshipped animals. Guess who follows this religion? The poor people, the oppressed people. Do you think that the guy who runs India, the dictator, I don't know who he is, the leader of India, do you think that guy is not eating cow? Do you think that guy is not eating dairy, cheese, milk, eggs? Do you think this guy's not eating this stuff? Yeah, he tells his people, yeah, don't eat vegetables, don't eat meat, don't eat dairy. That's all for me. Basically, he said in his head, that's all for me. I don't want y'all to have that. And the reason, because if you demand cows and goats, see, to raise cows and goats, you need land. You need good soil. So if you want to keep your people oppressed and ignorant, then and you don't want them demanding land or wanting to keep their land. See, if you don't have any animals or you don't have any crops, you don't need land. So if when the government wants to come along and take your land, they'll just take it. And they'll say, hey, you don't need your land anyway. You don't have no animals. You don't have no vegetables over here. So you think about it. They have no land to grow vegetables and to raise animals. What are they eating? They eat only what the government provides them, which is rice. Only thing they're eating is rice, and I guess they get access to spices. I guess that's the easiest probably thing that you can to grow. It's probably like spices, herbs, and rice. That's probably like, the thing is, rice is usually imported, or is you can buy it in the market. So it's a thing. If you look at the country, the things that are still really cheap, because if only rich people have access to these dairies, because they don't want people to have this stuff. So the people who have access to this stuff, the people who can actually get it, is rich people. They have access to cows, seafoods, stuff like that. They have access to all of that, eggs and stuff like that. But poor people don't have access to it because they don't have land to grow it, and then the government always keeps coming along taking the land, so they can't grow it anyway. They don't have the government keeps coming to take their land, and they don't have in the like I say, let's go back to Africa. If you have let's say you have a village and you have like one goat, the way Africa works, the tribes work is when you kill this goat, you have to share it with the whole village. So as soon as you kill this goat, well, the thing is you can't have more goats unless you have a male and female goat. So as soon as you kill the male goat or the female goat, you're not going to have any more goats, because you need a male and female to breed the goats to produce more goats. So you're going to have to keep a male and a female goat alive so they can produce more goats. So you have to keep making sure you have a male and female goat so you can breed them and they can produce more goats. So it's going to be hard to kill this goat if you only have a male and a female goat. And you know goats probably cost a lot. And in America, because we import, export, and all that stuff, we have access to a whole lot of stuff. But in Africa, you can't just go grab a goat. I mean, because other tribes have their own land and their own animals, and then you have militia groups, let's say out in the jungle, they have their own land, they have their own animals. And let's say you're in let's say this is the territory where these goats are, where the goats are. Where the militia or the government, they'll conquer this area where all the animals congregate. And if you want to go from there, you're gonna have to fight the militia to get a goat, or get a cow, or get a chicken. And if you're in a lot of tribes don't believe in guns. They think guns is a sign of weakness, so they don't even use guns. They use swords. Your sword and their guns. Militias had no problem using those guns. But you're trying to, yeah. You're trying to be righteous, and you're not using no guns. And if they're in a if you want to, and these goats are in this territory where the militia is, these armies, how you gonna get goats? I mean, as soon as you, the problem is, if famine starts, you're gonna have to kill this goat. So you don't want to, because if you only have two goats, a male and a female, as soon as you kill one of these goats, it's over. No more goats. Because and during a famine, you're gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to kill the male. You're gonna have to kill the female. Because if you don't, you're gonna starve. Because that's the only meat that you have. And if you know anything about meat, you sustain more energy with fat, not with stuff like rice or nuts. That's why when you look at strong people, they're usually meat eaters. So that just proves that eating meat, you sustain more energy longer, and then you can, buff up and become stronger. See, sugar, only thing that's doing is giving you a quick energy. But the reason why, like, bears can survive during the winter, during their slumber, hibernation, is because they have all this fat. Eating fish all day. Fat got fish. I mean, fish got fat. Because they're eating raw fish that hasn't been gutted. Because once you gut the fish, you gut all the things that you actually need. That actually helps you. So you're gutting all this stuff from the fish. So if you're gonna eat some fish, I would recommend like fish that hasn't been like gutted and stuff. Make sure you cut the head off. I'm not trying to eat no head, but yeah, I recommend that. So it's pretty complicated. Once you start getting into veganism and vegetarian, you realize that it's basically a lie. We're not actually supposed to be doing this. It's really not. It's not about eating meat or not eating meat. It's about how much do you eat. It's not about eating vegetables or fruits or nuts. It's about how much do you eat. How much do you eat a day? Because once you take out meat, you're going to have to replace it with something else. And usually what happens is when people give up meat, they're eating seeds and nuts. And they're eating these like every day. So you're getting way too much protein, way too much omega. And you like are getting like a way too much. You got to be balanced. You got to balance this stuff out with, some vegetables. I would say more vegetables, less meat. I would say if you're going to eat meat, don't eat a lot, and just mix it in there. And what I understand is cholesterol comes from eggs. And what do you think the brain is made of? Cholesterol. The brain is 90% cholesterol. The reason why people have Alzheimer's is because they're not eating enough eggs. Because the brain is 90% cholesterol. That's why you have to eat eggs. Because eggs is cholesterol. Every time you use your brain, you're using cholesterol. You have to replace it. So that's why eggs is important. And cholesterol is important. So eating eggs is great. There's nothing wrong with it. Dairy is great too. Because fat. You need fat because it stores energy. Fat stores energy better than sugar. When you see like overweight people, the reason why they're so big is because that's sugar. That's not fat. That's sugar. And actually, when you work out, the first thing you lose is not actually fat. It's actually water. So yeah, drinking water is great. Balancing out. It's all about balance. It's not about one thing over the other. It's about balance. So if you go to these places like Africa, they're not vegans because they want to. They're not vegetarian because they want to. They're only vegetarian because that's the only thing they have access to. The reason why they don't eat meat is because they don't have access to a lot of animals. If they did, they would be eating them all day. If they had access to cheese and dairies and eggs and chickens, they would eat them, no problem. But because they don't have access to it, as soon as you kill that goat, you're not getting another one. As soon as you eat those vegetables, you gotta grow some more. As soon as you eat that rice, you gotta get some more. That's because they have no refrigerators. They can't store this stuff. Where are they gonna store it? As soon as they kill the animal, if they don't eat it, it's gonna spoil. Or they gotta somehow, make it into jerky or something. Figure out how to I think you can put salt on the meat, and then you can that can preserve it too. Is you salt the meat and then you store it kind of like jerky. That's what basically jerky is. They take meat, they dry it out with with the salt on there, and then that's how they can store the meat for later or something. And then once you add water back to it, I think it comes basically comes back to life. So yeah, if you look at these poor countries, oppressed countries, they're vegans or vegetarian only because the government keeps taking their land. And because they keep taking their land, they can't grow anything. The only thing they're eating is rice. So you come to America, we go to these communities and we take their culture, and we don't know the history behind their culture. So we go to China and we take yoga. We take yoga, and then we don't take nothing else. We just take yoga. You're like, hey, yoga sure is great. Yeah, it's great. But we didn't take anything else. We just took yoga. We go to places, we take Tai Chi. If you don't know, Kung Fu is actually a lifestyle. It's not just the martial arts. It's actually the lifestyle, how you treat people, how you live. It's a whole lifestyle thing. And problem is, we go to these countries, we take one thing that justifies our choices and our beliefs. It makes us feel good. We don't have no history and truth behind it, and we bring it back here, and then we apply it to our lives, sort of. So we do a lot of things that make ourselves feel good, but we don't know the whole story behind all this stuff. But anyway, so all I'm asking you is to think more. There's always a reason why people do things. So, in I guess conclusion, veganism in America is a choice. In a poor country, it ain't no choice. It's all about circumstance. If you ain't got no land, you ain't growing no vegetables, and you ain't raising no animals. So, what does that mean? It means you can't eat meat. You can't eat vegetables. What are you eating? Rice. Sometimes nothing. Sometimes they end up starving because they don't have nothing to eat. But in America, we're dumb enough to follow these lifestyles, not knowing anything about them, because we don't have all the facts. Anyway, all right, that's it. Let's see. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see y'all next time.